Welcome to Cwic Show. My name is Greg Mattson, and I am your host. He did it. Wow. Elon Musk buys Twitter. The richest man in the world just bought a major social media platform and is going to bring it private, where he's going to have even more control. I'm going to be following this story a lot, I think, in the future. I just wanted to get this out because this just happened today. And put some thoughts out there on what this really means and what could be happening and the ripple effect that's going to happen from this purchase of Twitter. I hope you understand that the purchase of Twitter is it's going to change things on social media. I don't see how it doesn't, because Elon Musk is not of the mold of Silicon Valley. And, you know, if you know of his past, where he's been, he was with PayPal with Peter Thiel, his partner at PayPal, who also, like Elon Musk, is a diehard libertarian. He is the one that made Peter is the one that made the original large investment in Facebook, and sits on several of the boards of Silicon Valley. But he is also not of Silicon Valley. He very much sits outside of it. Great person to follow, by the way, Peter Thiel. Some great interviews, and he really sees a lot of what is coming down the road. But anyway, free speech is a major issue here with the purchase of Twitter. We've seen in the near past here a switch on, well, let's just say in the last several years with social media, we've seen a change in what really is free speech. There's a new argument that has to be had, and that is about the public square. As Elon Musk has said previously, Twitter especially, but social media as a whole, is the new public square. How do you regulate the public square? Who gets to speak and who doesn't? Well, the algorithms of the social media platforms certainly decide who gets the bigger voice and who does not, what topics can be pushed and which can't, which posters, those posting on there, which accounts are going to have a better chance of going viral and which aren't. It's going to be very interesting, because what he will do, one of the things he plans on doing is making the Twitter algorithm public, open source, so that everybody can see it. This is kind of who he is. And by putting it out there, he'll get suggestions from the masses on how to build the algorithms for Twitter, what needs to be put in place there. They'll gather all this information and make it more of a ground up, grassroots type of a product, which is, I think, what the public square kind of really is. But along with that, he obviously is going to be able to go in, unless it's all destroyed before he comes in. I don't think so. But he's going to be able to go in and see what the algorithm is now. What has been done at Twitter, as an example, to silence certain people and certain topics. Because it happens all the time, right? The shadow banning happens all the time. So what has been done, and to actually have the evidence of that, the hard evidence of this, to be able to show what's going on, I think is a very important thing. And I would hope that he's willing to talk about that and put that out there. Secondly, what does this do to the other social media companies? What pressure does this put on them right from the get-go, especially if he does talk about what has been done to shadow ban and to regulate, right? What does that do to the other social media companies? What kind of a response will they have? Are they going to keep Twitter as an outlier and kind of fight against it? I can kind of see that happening. But what pressure will that put on them to change their algorithms, at least to a certain degree? I think this is a very historic purchase, a very historic time in social media history, because it affects all of us. This could affect nearly everyone in the world with online access to some degree or another. It could change social media. I believe, I can say this right now from day one of his purchase here, of the offer being accepted here, I think it will change social media to some degree. But free speech is a very interesting animal. What do you allow on there? What is held back? How much vulgarity is allowed on there? What about pornography? How far does free speech go? Some of the changes that he's talked about are, here's one. I'm quoting him. He says, I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust. Think about the trust level. I just had this episode on trust and Jonathan Haidt and the institutions. This is what I was saying. I don't agree with Jonathan Haidt on saying that we have to figure out a way to harden the companies against the distrust of the people. We need to figure out how to make the institutions more trustworthy. This is how you do it. I think he's spot on with this, that they'll increase trust by opening the source and the algorithm to the public, defeating the spam bots. That's everything that gets put out there that isn't a real person. That's got to be handled better. And authenticating all humans, right? So all humans get a blue checklist, a blue check mark or whatever, just saying this is a real person, a way that they can determine that and make sure you can see that you're speaking with and reading something from a real person, not a foreign entity that's trying to manipulate information, right? Or whatever it might be, any spam that there might be. Since the announcement on this, by the way, I know that today, I'm recording this on Monday, the 25th of April, the day that the board agreed to accept the offer by Elon Musk. The shares have gone up 5.66% today. As a whole, since it was announced, I think it was April 14th, when it was announced by Elon Musk that he had over 9% of the company. Since that day, so we've going from April 14th to the 25th, so we're talking about 11 days, the company stock has gone up 32%. So that tells you the hunger for change is real. It also tells you that the institutional investors are likely also believing that this is going to have an impact, a positive impact for the company. And that's another thing, a financial incentive, perhaps, for the other social media companies to follow suit to some degree in some of what Elon Musk is doing. Now, Elon Musk is an absolutist when it comes to free speech. He's probably even further than I would think of myself as being in the area of free speech. I don't know yet what that means. Again, you have to think about how do you handle this. I'll give you an example. What is Elon Musk going to do with Section 230? I did an episode on Section 230 several months ago with an organization, NCOSE, that fights against human trafficking and forced pornography, right? And they have had several incidents, in fact, a lot they had with Twitter, where these things were being posted, and there were at least links to where you could get to these videos, this pornography, where they know that several times those that were involved in those pornography were women and girls, underage girls that were trafficked. And so here's the thing with Section 230. This is a law that is maybe 25 or 30 years old, 25 years old, more or less, that the one section in there is Section 230 in that law that states that the online companies are not liable for the content of the users, right? Whatever the users post online, they are not liable for it. Therefore, an organization like NCOSE, right, is they go after Twitter because they're saying, look, you're not regulating your speech. These are things that you've got to do a better job of, or we've got to be able to make. They want to repeal Section 230 so that the online companies, are liable for what is placed in there. Originally, this was put in early on, I think in the 90s, mid to late 90s, because they wanted to allow the companies online to be able to grow, to not worry about the liability. And there's some philosophical issues in there also, right? With free speech. There are some issues of, well, are they really liable, or are those that post liable? Because again, this is the public square. And if you looked at it as a public square, let's say you had an area of a public square in a park, and someone goes up and starts saying something absolutely horrible, it's illegal even, is the government or the park or whoever owns that property there liable for what is being spoken? These are new ideas that have to be parsed out and understood a little bit better, tested. So it'll be interesting to see what Elon Musk, he's going to have to eventually talk about Section 230 and what might be done there. He's also said that he wants a lot less advertising on Twitter. Right now, about 90% of all revenue on Twitter comes from advertising revenue. He wants to shift this over towards subscriptions of some sort. And so the subscriptions might be something along the lines of, it could be maybe you're subscribing to certain individuals and there's more of a paywall for additional content that's in there. More a la YouTube, right? Where YouTube offers certain things like this. Or maybe there are subscriptions where you might pay things where you get additional features, a small amount of money. You pay a few dollars a month and you can do things like undo a tweet, right? And change certain things. And very small amount of money, but something that brings in revenue outside of advertising. And the reason that's important, and is always important, because think about the TV news. They are but heavily reliant on the advertisers. So when you reduce the how much you rely on the advertising revenue, then you reduce how much you are in the pockets, so to speak, of the advertising companies. So that's an important thing. Now, so far, the White House, as of today, is silent on the purchase. They don't want to say anything. They did reiterate that they have, this is the press secretary here from today. She said, the president has long talked about his concerns about the power of social media platforms, including Twitter and others, to spread misinformation, right? And there are issues there. But again, that's the balance. How do we balance out free speech and controlling misinformation? How much power do we give the public square to regulate our speech? And it seems to me that, with Elon Musk in there with Twitter, this is going to be pulled the exact opposite direction of the direction that the social media companies have gone. It does say here also in regards to Section 230 that the White House, that they continue to advocate for revoking Section 230, right? They want the social media platforms to be liable for the posted content. And I don't know which side you may be on that. It's a very interesting debate to look at. There are issues on both sides. So we will be covering this going forward. I think it is very impactful for us in our lives. It will make changes. It may even have changes when you have something coming from Twitter and or other social media companies that move up through the courts and get to the Supreme Court that have to do with the First Amendment. That, again, for those in the United States, is very impactful, and how that is going to be interpreted in a digital world as compared to what we've had to work with in the past. These are changes that are coming and that could define free speech in the United States and beyond. And then, of course, again, the change to the rest of social media. How will they react to this purchase? We'll be following what is happening at Twitter and this historic purchase from Elon Musk going forward.